Welcome to Lush Builds. Today I want to talk about lighting in house flippers and also decorating a living room in symmetry. That's something that you can do in everyday life, other building games, just some helpful tips to make a cozy living room. But first thing, let's talk about the lighting and how we can make this easier in house flippers. I find that for me personally, I like to whitewash the walls like what you would do in real life when you're decorating a room, just so you can get a clear vision. Unless you already know what you want to do straight away, then cool, just go straight for it. But once you've got your walls white, I like to put tiles on the ceilings so I can line up the lights, because there's nothing more annoying than having things mismatched or not lined up. And where this video is about symmetry and having things lined up and matched, this is just a great tip for anyone who wants to get their lights in the perfect place. So where we have those windows, it's always a good point to start. Immediately when I saw those windows, I knew that that was where my symmetry would be in this living room. I would use those as my points. So I've placed the light on the tiles right on the line. Right now it's probably not where I want it to be, but just as a start, we'll put the light there. So now we see that we've obviously got the windows at the side, and I want to put some light by that window. I already know that I want to put a fireplace in between. So now I'm just going to work out where I want the light. So if you look up at the ceiling, we've got the lines. I use those lines just to mark up the lights, and then I use the lines from the window to mark up where I want to stop. So it's equal on both sides. We've got the line, we go down, we can see where the window is, and then pop it there. It's perfect. So all the lines are in the right place. So here in a better light, you can see the walls are white. We know that the wall lights are in the right place. So now the ceiling light is in the right place. And I'll show you how I did that using the tiles. So if you look, the light's there in the middle. And so if you count over to the left, 1, 2, 3, 4, and to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, you see that is all lined up perfectly. And then it just makes it a lot easier to make sure that things are just in place how you want them. As I said, because I know that I want a fireplace on that wall, the fireplace is going to be like my central part to work with. I'll be working around that. And that's something that you want to do when you're designing. Have a vocal point to start with and then kind of build around it. So once I've placed this fireplace, I just want to make sure it's perfectly in between the lights. Again, you can still use the ceiling as a reference. We do paint over the ceiling when we finish. We don't keep it tiled unless you want to, of course. But now we know that the distance between the windows, the fireplace, the lights, everything is matched up. Now the next part is to get a rug. Now when decorating a living room, you want to make sure that your rug is big and bold and it's like an anchor for the room. So here I'm placing the rug and just checking that it's where I want it to be for now. And I think I'm quite happy with that. It seems to be lined up quite well. I don't know if everybody does this, but I do like to make sure things are perfect in real life and in any house building game or decorating game. I think it's important. So when you're placing your sofa, you want to make sure that's anchored onto the rug. Right now, that's too much of an anchor, but it doesn't matter. We'll get back to that. And then the armchairs, because we're working with symmetry now, this is how we make it flow. So you want to have your main sofa, and then especially if this room isn't too big, so instead of having 2 sofas, you can have 2 armchairs and just like anchor those as well right on the rug, and turn it to the side a little bit just to give it a little bit of dimension, a little feeling. And to get these lot lined up where you want them, and then you'll be able to see if everything's matched up. So I can see now that this sofa isn't where I want it to be. The distance between the fireplace, the armchairs and the sofas is not quite flowing. So we're going to move that back a little bit, and then let's just place it about here. Just eyeball things really as you're doing it, but you tend to get a feel. And I think one thing, it's still not quite right, but let's try with a table and see how much actual space we're going to need here. With the table, especially with colours as well, you want to think about your colours. Right now I'm using creams and whites, but you want to have some pop. So I want to use the table to bring a little bit more colour Another great tip in house flippers, you can't use this in real life, but in house flippers, I like to place something roughly where I want it. And then when you move it away, you've got the shadow underneath, which is lined up. So now you know exactly where you want it. You can just move whatever the furniture is because you already had that shadow. So see, like here, this isn't lined up. It's where I want it, but it's not where I want it. So you can see the shadows there, but it's not quite lined up with the sofa. But I can now move it and get it all lined up, and everything looks perfect. And then you look around and I can see just a little, I feel like the sofa still needs to move a little bit more, but you definitely want to make sure the front of your chairs and tables, they're onto the rug, they're part of the anchor. See, now that looks a little bit more together. Now you've got to get your little coffee tables. Again, this just brings a little bit of separation from the chairs and gives the house or the living room area a little bit more flavour. Always make sure the front of the legs are anchored onto the rug as well. It's like everything is meant to be, you know, it's not out of place. And then you go ahead and you decorate this however you want. But the general idea is that you keep everything together, keep it smooth, and there you have it. Just make it look flush, keep the colours together. It's homely, it's inviting, and I hope you enjoyed this. So stay tuned for my next video, guys, where I'll be renovating the first office that we get in House Flippers. Thank you so much for watching. Like, share, and subscribe.